Welcome to the Fit Firm Coaching Podcast, the podcast where we explore different topics on fitness and wellness to help you be a better you. Now let's get started with your host, Taylor.
Welcome back to another episode of the Fit Firm Podcast. I am your host, Taylor, and today I'm super excited because I have my first guest on the Fit Firm Podcast. This guest I've known since high school, and I've watched his fitness journey through social media, so I'm super excited to have him here today and talk about his experiences, his fitness journey, and what he's currently doing in the fitness space. So before I begin, let me read you a quick introduction on my friend Zeke. Zeke is a certified NASA nutrition coach who helps people make lifestyle changes, whether it's how to gain muscle, lose weight, or just eat the right kind of foods. He spent the last 2 years working towards certifications, but has had the knowledge and experience that he's been putting into practice for years. So without further ado, here's Zeke Cruz. Zeke, welcome to the Fit Firm Podcast. Super excited to have you on. And
thanks for having you.
Looking forward to talking through your fitness journey, what you're currently doing in the fitness space, what you have planned for the future. I know we had briefly talked about you competing, which I'm super excited to hear about. So let's kick it off. So if you want to start off with a little bit of a background of yourself, inspiration, what kind of got you into the fitness space, and what was that main motivational driver for you to start making a change with, your current health and fitness routine?
Yeah. I just want to start off with saying thanks for having me. It means a lot to reach out and just
Absolutely.
as much as we've known each other, it's finally cool to kind of like do something like this, especially like you're in the same space. So when you did reach out, I was super excited and super like, let's just do it.
Yeah, my goal of this show is to, you have all these other platform or podcasts out there and YouTube videos. They have these really big influencers, but they don't really relate to the normal individual. And I want to talk to people who are just like me, trying to work with, certain types of clients that don't have this massive following, kind of give an audience to those that are similar to my situation. So super excited to have you here.
Sweet. Thank you. So I guess like for me, I would say I was always into like bodybuilding and stuff like that. Like I fell in love with like the whole golden era, like seeing Arnold and just like pumping iron. Like that's everybody will say, "Oh, you watched that movie? Like, yeah, it's a great movie." You fall in love, you're like, "Yeah, I want to go to the gym. I want to get big." And that was like part of it. But like for me growing up, I didn't have any type of guidance when it came to like nutrition. And so like I would go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym till like post high school. And I would always make these efforts, and I started to like lose weight and like kind of see the results and things like that. But it would always fall back into like eating bad or just eating the wrong things. Or like, when I'd go out with friends after work, it would be like, okay, we're partying, we're drinking, we're getting hungry, we're eating. And, all of that really didn't make any sense towards the gains or anything towards the results that I wanted to. And, it was just like a back and forth. And it got to the point where I was just like really trying to get focused on myself, trying to get like that inner peace, that happiness of like what I want to see within myself. And it took a little bit of a journey, but I think once I found out my daughter was going to be born, it was like, okay, taking it into a whole different level of like, I'm going to be a dad. Not to say that I didn't want to, the whole dad bod notion, but it was just like, for me, it's just like, I can't be that dad. Like, I have to lead her on this like path. I have to lead by example. And that was something that really led me into going into the nutritional path, like for real, and just learning more about like how to calculate the macros for myself. And it was something that I was doing from that point till now, where like I took the knowledge that I gained, and then it was just like, okay, practice it on myself, trial it. And that was where I started to post on social media a lot of like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. This is what it's called. This is what a maintenance is called. And here's how it's going for me. And I would post like progress pictures, even though I was like really shy about it. And like, they were real vulnerable, I guess.
Yep, absolutely.
But it got me to just be more comfortable on screen and on camera with that kind of stuff. And yeah, I felt like for a long time I was so knowledgeable on the stuff But because I didn't have any certification behind it, I had like this imposter syndrome. And it was just like killing me to be like, you know so much about it, but like,
Yeah.
why aren't you actually certified? And it bothered me a lot. And that's what led me to trying to go for the certification.
Yep. No, I understand that. From my like professional experiences, yes, like I have 2 degrees, right? I have a bachelor's degree and I have a master's degree, but that doesn't matter because my institutional knowledge of what I do is so much more valuable than those pieces of paper. So I totally understand, like, you have all this knowledge, but you don't think that because I don't have a certification, it doesn't matter. But the
Right.
institutional knowledge goes way farther than a piece of paper. But I totally get it. It makes you more credible when you have certifications. You can show someone, say, hey, I'm a specialist in nutrition or whatever the case may be. If it's personal training, you name it. I did want to ask you on the calculation of macros and like what is a maintenance. How did you learn how to calculate your macros and understand how maintenance works? Because I have a lot of clients that I talk to that they don't understand how macros work and where do I get started on it. So just wanted to hear from your perspective, what kind of paths did you take to learn that on your own?
Yeah. So the first course I went through, right? Because I went through NASM currently, or that's
Hmm.
where I went through to get my certification. But initially, 2021, I went through this company. You might have heard of them called NCI.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it was like this whole thing where I think we talked about it before, where like I was like invested in them. I bought courses to learn the stuff, and it felt relevant. And even looking back at it in retrospect, with what I was going through again with the courses at NASM, like a lot of the stuff that they preached was like true and accurate. It's
Hmm.
just that the service side of it for me, like I said, was like I don't know if I'm just like pouring money into this place to
Yeah.
continue to get something when I went through NASM and I took my cert, I studied the courses, I paid for it, I took the test, and that was it. Right? It just felt like
Yep.
there was so much more of a reach to get certified as a coach. So that was my
Gotcha.
disconnect there. But they kind of like through the courses taught me how to do the macro calculations. There's a couple different ones out there. There's ones that go off of like age, weight, height. There's ones
Okay.
that go off of like more advanced where like you have to go to like a lab and get like your BMI taken and stuff like
Okay.
that. And you can get a more accurate reading there. But when it came down to NASM, it was kind of like hand in hand, almost the same information that I learned about, which I was already using. So I've been going with their calculations. It's a specific calculation method that I like to use. I could disclose it if you want. I could talk about it if you guys
It's
want.
up it's up to you
Um,
if you want to.
it's called the what is it, the Benedict Henderson
Okay.
calculation. So it's the one I've been using, and for me, like it's something that for me I tested out like over the course of almost like 3 years now, and
Mhm.
I can say for me it works. And I think with that and programming and coaching, if you're able to kind of like stick with it, then you see the results, right? You can find your maintenance spot. You can find that calorie amount that you need to hit. And as long as you're consistent with it, I believe that the results show. Same thing with losing weight, same thing with gaining weight, right? It's all the same.
Yep.
It's all about if you're in a deficit, if you're in a bulk, or if you want to just maintain that current weight. But um, I believe that the test and the calculations work.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of clients, there's a bunch of apps out there. I've used Carbon, I've used Macro Stacks, I think it's called Macro Tracker. They all have you plug in your numbers and it calculates macros. And I personally don't think they're entirely accurate. I think a lot of it is they cut macros and calories way too low, and then you get into this yo-yo cycle where I'm super hungry, I'm hitting my macros and I'm not losing weight. And then you're like,
Yeah,
I'm done. Let me try something else.
it's so.
That's
No, I'm sorry. It's
no,
so
I mean
funny
that's
that
great
like
information.
yeah, it's funny because like you say that, and it's true. Like I remember having like clients early on, or people that would try to do like a trial system with it, and I'd be like, okay, eat these amount of calories. And the app that I was telling them to track with at the time was MyFitnessPal. And
Hmm.
MyFitnessPal had their own little way of like putting in your macros, but it would be like, it says I have to eat this. And it would be such a, not argument, but it'd be such a debate on like, is he right or is this app
Yeah,
right? Which tells
yeah,
me what I should be eating. And I'd be like, no, don't worry about that, right? Like, it's such a generic, I feel like,
it's cookie
uh
cutter.
prescription of like, hey, this is what you eat. It's based on the gen pop, so it's like so hard to say like this is gonna work for you based on just putting your age, weight, height in, and
Yep.
yeah, like you said, it's cookie cutter.
Yep, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more because even I still play around with my macros. I'm like, I don't think that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, that's good stuff. So let's jump to some challenges and successes. So let's talk a little bit about your fitness journey. How did you get to the place you're at now, and some of the challenges that you faced along the way to get there?
How early? How early?
Well, let's start actually at the point where you started going to the gym. So you said a little bit after
Okay.
high school.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the challenges that you faced and where you are now. And then I know that you had mentioned to me that you're getting ready to compete, which I think is awesome. And I'm super excited for you to step on the stage because there's no better feeling. So
Yeah.
let's go from the beginning and then we'll go from there.
Cool, cool. Yeah, so like I said, it was really out of high school that I started to like lose weight. Most of my friends know me from when I was like bigger. I was the sibling. You can ask my siblings like when they had like leftover food, like maybe Chinese, specifically a story about Chinese food. Like my brother remembers me like opening the fridge door in the middle of the night and just eating like whatever leftovers that he had. Like I was always hungry. I was
Yeah.
always eating. And so like high school came and I was like, okay, like there was a local gym. I think it was like a Robert Wood Johnson opened up and I started getting into
Okay.
that. And it was cool, but I was still in like post high school, like I took a year off from like going to college that first year, and I was still hanging out with a lot of friends who, honestly, were not making good decisions. I got into a lot of like things that I never expected to get into, like on like a real extra level of like drugs, I guess you want to say. But
Mhm.
I'll just flat out say like I got hooked on like a lot of different drugs from like cocaine to going on and off like heroin at one point, and
Oh,
like I lost weight, but then at the same time like I was also like losing like a part of myself, and I was like really going down this like slope of like going to work, trying to like just figure my life out. I was like young. I was probably like 19 to like 20, 21. I was really
okay.
just going through it. And, like at that point I was like going to the gym in the I used to work at Costco. So I was going to the Costco gym in the freezer on my lunch breaks, trying to like work out there.
I didn't even
And
know
I was
Costco
still,
had a gym. That's
yeah,
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. If you're in the warehouse, there's like what at least they did. They had like a little section that you could like start lifting at. So I was like, I was really trying to like they all saw me like in the morning. I was trying to come in early so I could like work out a little bit. But again, like my lifestyle, my choices were still just like so counterbalanced. Like I wasn't
Hmm.
doing the right thing, and like I never went to rehab or anything like that. But I decided like I wanted to like get myself clean, so I stopped cold turkey with certain things. And then over the years, like I just kept working out, right? Like I kept, I joined retail, I joined Apple, and they all saw me as this kid who was like very adamant about like working out. They're like, "Oh man, you look great." But then again, like I said, once I joined, Apple, it was like everyone liked to go out after work and drink,
Yeah.
and then I got into a relationship, and there's that like, what do they call it? Like that comfort way. So like
Yeah,
I stopped going to the
absolutely.
gym less. We started going out together. We started drinking and smoking together because I was still smoking at the time, and there was just like a lot of back and forth, and it was like I guess when you talk about challenges, right? It was like me trying to like work towards something, but knocking myself back down like
Yep.
every time, and it lasted for a while. I think like up until let's say I got married in 2020. Like I didn't kick a lot of things until like 2020. Like even smoking, I probably
Okay.
stopped smoking like a year or so ago because at some point my brain just switched. I would get real. This was before my daughter, but like it just started to switch, and I started to think and get very introspective when I smoked, and it was
Nice.
just like a voice in my head that was like, why are you so like stuck? Why do you feel stuck? Why do you feel like you can't get ahead? Like I would create all these like problems in my head about like where I didn't want to be. And
Mm.
I started like asking myself those questions, and it came down to like just wanting to do more for me, like wanting to experience more in life. And part of that was, like wanting to make more money, right? And
Yep.
part of it was trying to have the time to do things that I like nutrition. And I can never figure it out. And then yeah, I would say like 2021, like I found out my daughter was going to be born in it was like then once I figured out the nutritional piece, it was like, okay, like this at least gives me like the piece that where I can, control my health, control my nutrition, control what I'm eating. And I was working on that a lot and it started to show very much. I did my first cut and I was like, yo, I have abs.
You know that feeling? It's awesome.
Yeah, it was like so mind-blowing because I was never in the point where I was like, I'm gonna have these, especially from being big. Like you see so much like extra skin, and you're like, this is never gonna happen. And then you see it and you're like, wow.
Yep.
So like I know it's possible, right? Especially with like the calculations, especially with eating right and like changing your lifestyle up. And then actually one of my previous clients introduced me to the trainer who I'm currently with, and that was around almost 2 years ago, almost going on
Okay.
3 in November. But like, like that was a whole nother thing. I never would have said, yes, you need a personal trainer to get ahead in life. Or like you don't need someone to train you.
Yeah.
And now I would take that back in a heartbeat because like nutrition is one thing, but training intensity is another, right? And I always say you can go to the gym as much as you want, but if you don't eat right, it doesn't make sense. But if you're eating right, but you still don't have that like intensity, it's kind of like the same thing. And so like when I met him, it was just like a whole different game. It was like my nutrition pieces, my foundation there finally met a good stimulus with the training intensity. And he's a solid dude. He pushes me. Shout out to Anthony. But like it's just a real good relationship between learning how much I can push myself with weight and volume, as well as like, contributing it to how to eat right. Because like that's in my mind how an athlete or how a bodybuilder lives, right? You have to eat right, but you have to train right too. So yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, when I've gone through contest preps, I was with a trainer 3 times a week, doing check-ins every day on my nutrition. So it's so crucial that you have not only the nutrition piece, but you need someone there to push you, but also hold you accountable.
Yeah.
So once you have those two things in place, I mean, you're unstoppable. And I talked about that in an upcoming show as well, about the benefits of having a personal trainer. It's not just someone to show you exercises; it's someone there to guide you, to keep you accountable, to make sure you're on top of your nutrition, to make sure you're on top of your workouts outside of when you train with that trainer. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad that you brought that up, that the benefit of having a personal trainer, because I don't think a lot of people realize that. They think it's an extra cost for someone to show me how to do exercises at a gym and I have to show up to them. And they don't see that it's not just a cost, it's an investment. It's investment in myself. It's investment in my physical health, but it's also an investment in my mental health. And I think that aspect completely gets disregarded most of the time.
Mental health especially. And like, again, going back to NCI, like Jason Phillips, the CEO, used to say, the physiological leads to the physical. So like if you're doing crazy things like within your performance and you're feeling good, like that's huge, right? Like you feel unstoppable. And then it comes down to like you actually doing the weight. It's like it's such an empowerment when like you do a crazy PR or just like crazy weights and you're just like, damn, I never would imagine I would do this.
Yeah.
It's very liberating.
I agree with you. I mean, after my last show, I felt unstoppable. Like my energy levels were high. Like I'm ready to tackle the world. Even back in 2020, I did 75 hard during lockdown, and I felt so good afterwards. Like I was ready to tackle anything that came my way, and it's so true. If more people invested, 30 minutes a day into their physical health, imagine how society would function if people just felt better about themselves.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's jump into, let's talk about your daily routine, because I know you train super early in the morning. Like, I don't know how you're up that early, lifting 500 pounds at 4 a.m. But let's kind of talk into your daily routine. Let's talk about how you prep your meals for the day, your workout routine, if you incorporate cardio, if you don't, or what part of your training phase that's in. So let's get into that.
Yeah. So it's funny. My coworkers and I just, my coworkers joke around with me all the time, call me a psycho because I'm like in bed by 8 o'clock. if I'm scrolling 8:30.
Yeah.
But I wake up every day at 2:50 a.m. And this was this whole routine starting back from like, COVID days where it was
Yeah.
like, let me wake up at 7 a.m. try and get to the gym. All right, let me try 6:30. Let me try 6. Let me try 5:30. Let me try 4. And I realized like the gym opens up at 4 a.m. So if I'm up enough early, I could get all my stuff ready, kind of get going. It led to 250. That's the magic number right now. So every day besides
That's
Saturdays and
crazy.
Sundays, I'm waking up at 250. Yeah. And I get my things ready, get my like pre-workout mixed up, kind of get whatever outfit I'm gonna wear, go to the gym. I'm there in the parking lot probably about like 3:57, training from 4 to 6, going back
Okay.
home, and it's like 2 scoops of protein. That's usually like my thing, and then I'll have like my 3 eggs in the morning. Because I, work a regular office job, it's like I
Mhm.
have to get ready for the day. I have to get my daughter going. I have to make sure that my wife's ready to kind of do her thing when she leaves to the office.
Yep.
So it's like a little quick, like, hey, get home, get ready, get the baby ready. But it's like I have my 3 eggs in the morning. I try and figure out what other things I can get ready with me. I posted this the other day, but I don't like meal prep. I don't
Okay.
like the idea of like, packing my stuff and then heating it up again. I'll make my proteins that day. If it's a pot of rice, sometimes it's being made that day, and then whatever's left over, I'll put that and I'll eat that. That's no problem for me. It doesn't have like a flavor that's gonna feel weird to me.
Okay.
And then it's like using a lot of like staples that I use on the regular, like fruits, bananas, apples, pumpkin seeds, cashews, like things that you can find at Costco. Super easy, super convenient. I measure everything. I bring my scale. I have a portable scale for like when I'm on the go, if in case the office brings something in. But um, I usually pack all my things every day because it's just easier that way. I like to see the numbers in the app when I'm tracking them, like kind of start to add up, and then I
Mhm.
visualize whatever else I have to do for that day. I go to the office, I get home, and maybe I'm having a meal. Especially now in the cut, it's difficult because I'm trying to spread out the meal. So like I have a good amount of food with me, but then if I also eat it, I'm like, okay, now I need to get home and figure out like what this next meal is going to give
Yeah.
me my protein from or my carb from. And it's just like a catch up game. But then, yeah, that's a typical day. And some days, like I just started programming with my trainer, so he's got me on doing like PM cardio days on some days and core on some days. Like today was just a cardio and abs day
Okay.
for me. Tomorrow I'm going in, I'm doing like upper and then coming back in the afternoon for like more cardio and core. So especially because it's competition, it's
Yep.
kind of like a little bit more programmed around that. But does that answer that question or?
Yeah. I mean, it's your question how you want to answer it. So, do
Yeah.
your coworkers think you're a nut with a scale in the office too?
It's funny because we have this random scale in the office near like the shipping side of
Yeah.
things, and I don't even know what people use it for, but anytime there's like a food, like I said, that's brought into the office, or if like we order something, I will bring it to my desk and just like make sure I still measure it that way. Like if I don't have it, found great stuff.
Yeah.
But
I
they definitely give me there's never a team meeting that we have that's not talking about Deacon like his proteins or something like that. It's always a given at this point.
they may talk about it, but hopefully it inspires them to, maybe do something with their fitness and nutrition routine. So you never know
For
who you
sure.
may inspire, even though they crack jokes. I wanted to ask you what app are you currently using to track your macros?
I swear by it now, but macro first, right? Like one of the biggest
I
turnoffs for me
I think I
was
have that. I think
you
that's the
used
one I
it?
use. Hold
Yeah.
on.
It's got like
Uh,
an M and an X.
yes, that's the one I have.
Yeah, it's solid. Can I take a sip of water real
Yeah,
quick?
absolutely. I got my my element here too.
Nice. I saw that bottle too. I like that. I actually look. The
There
fun
you go.
soft factor here. Yeah, exactly. I'm getting this shipment today. I've been finally waiting. And another thing with that is like I feel so much more reliant on it, especially in a cup because of the heat, not getting enough sodium in my
Yep.
body. I'm like relying on the electrolytes heavier now. And I feel it. Like throughout the day, I'm like, I need more salt. And I even put like pink salt since waiting for this element package. So I'm so happy
Yeah.
it's coming today.
Sweet.
Um what was the question again? I'm sorry.
The app that you were
Oh,
using. So you
macro
use
first,
macros
macro
first.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it a lot, and I just stumbled upon it. But like my biggest turnoffs with like my fitness pal was like they had the barcode scanner, great, and as soon as I don't know 2 Octobers ago came, they were like, "Sorry, you have to pay premium for it." And like whatever, $80 a year isn't crazy, but it's a simple tool for like I wasn't using everything in the app.
Mhm.
Anyways, this app is great. You could scan things, right? They mostly come up. A lot of the search history has everything that I recently eat, anyways. So I can just plug those back
Yep.
in, and I can plug my direct macros in it, and it'll tell me like how much I have in there, how much I have remaining for the day, and then if you scroll all the way to the right and scroll down, it'll tell you like the actual percentages if you need to know like the percentages of like your proteins, carbs, and fats.
Yep. Yeah.
I love
I've
it. I've been
been
using it.
yeah I've been using it too for probably maybe a year at this point, but I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's probably one of the better macro tracking apps on the market right now.
yeah. Hopefully, it stays.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They don't put in
free
some
for now.
add in that,
Yeah, some add on.
that MyFitnessPal did and messed up the entire platform.
Just that.
All right, so let's go into let's go into a piece of advice that you would that you have gotten that's impacted your fitness and wellness journey, and maybe a piece of advice to our listeners as well that could potentially help them along the way.
Piece of advice.
Yeah.
Um, honestly, like my trainer says it a lot in terms like whenever we're at the squat rack, and he'll love. I hope he loves me for this. I hope he hears this, but he says you're stronger than you think. You're stronger than you think, and like when you're exhausted, gassed, or doing squats, right? Like you just like push roll more, don't rack it, all these kind of things. Like it's tiresome, right? It's physically fatiguing, and you just want to like give up. You want to stop. You're feeling your heart rate go up and everything else like that. But he's always saying like you're stronger than you think. And like for me, like that he's put so much like I have confidence by myself, right? Self confidence was built from like building a physique, from going as long as I can from
Mhm.
my weight loss journey. But like when someone else believes in you, it means so much. Like that
Absolutely.
they kind of give you that affirmation of like it's like when you talk to your kids, right? It's like you want to teach your kids like that you're loved, like you're kind, like you're beautiful, like all these things that like are positive. And he's like, you're stronger than you think. And so I would tell anybody who's like going through their own struggles or their own journeys, like you just keep showing up because like it's one of those things that like you control it, right?
Yep.
There's gonna be bad days. There's gonna be days where like you may be if you're tracking your food or if you're not, you're just trying to eat better, right? You may have a day where you go out with friends because it's the summertime and you like ate a little bit more, or you feel like a little bit crappy about your past week with work and it calls you to overeat.
Mhm.
um it's you who's like controlling that outcome, and like it's super important to remind yourself that, and it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like even for me, right? Like I'm pretty hardwired into it, but I don't I give myself grace, you know what I mean? I don't
Yep.
think that I have to be so hard on myself anymore to the point where I'm like, you look in the mirror, you're like, you're fat again or something like that, it's just like
Yeah.
I you have to uplift yourself.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think a lot of people have that approach that they're hard on themselves and they have to be perfect. And that's not how the world works. That's not how weight loss works. That's not how fitness in general works. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is consistency and saying that, yes, you're strong enough to do this, whether it's a physical movement or it's something on the mental side. All right, so let's go into some personal favorites. So, what is your go-to workout, and what is a nutritional tip that you think everyone should incorporate into their fitness and wellness routine?
Yeah. Deadlift. If you haven't deadlifted yet, I would say to deadlift. I didn't start deadlifting until like 2 years ago.
Okay,
It'd be great if I could get like 225 going, and then I did dead December. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it. It's from that company like Sorex, right?
Sorinex? Yeah,
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 yeah. They do squats over too, which I've gotten into both of them just because it seems like a cool thing to do for the community
yeah,
or like worldwide. I can't do it this year because I'm competing, so I'm
yeah,
gonna like probably not be able to train that way.
yeah. You're gonna have to whatever coach says, you're gonna do. So
Yeah, yeah. But the end of like 2 years ago, I got 400, and
that's awesome.
then my goal last year. Thank you. My goal last year was like, all right, let's get 500, and I got that in October. We did it. Well, I actually went to Carteret. There was,
Mhm.
Skiba's gym, right?
Yep, yep.
So there was a powerlifting fundraiser called Deadlifts for Dogs, and it was hype. It was like the first time I deadlifted in public, and like it wasn't a meet, but it felt like a meet. And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh man, like everybody's here stalled. So like everybody was deadlifting. We were going. Anthony, my coach, came. He showed up, and it was just like it must have been just the adrenaline. But I got 500 then, and I was like, dope. It was cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then earlier this year, February 11th, I got 555. I like marked it in my calendar.
Damn.
This is how special it was to me. And then nutritional tip, like front load your protein. Like whenever somebody tells me, I'm like, all right, how much protein have you had so far in the day? It's like it's 12
Yeah.
o'clock. Oh, I'm at like 50 grams. Like 50 grams. Like
Yeah.
you want to, like, you've probably heard this too. Like you want to at least get to 100 by 12 o'clock, right? Like afternoon time. Because
Yep.
if you're 30 plus, right, like you want to be at least 100 grams in, and then if you have physical goals or if you're training, like you need that to kind of build that muscle, and you need that to kind of keep you full so that you're not grazing and going to like things that are going to lead you into bad habits. But yeah, front load your protein. Like that's why as soon as I get to home from the gym, 2 scoops of protein just off the bat to like replenish my body from the workout I just did, and then just try and like make little, I don't know, find foods that have protein in them. Like I eat pumpkin seeds knowing that they have protein in them and fats, right? I kind of like stack them that way. So earlier the better. That way, like you're not like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like, what am I going to eat today? And then like go into like bad habits.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you there. I mean, I tell clients like at minimum 25, 30 grams of protein for breakfast.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You'll feel better. You're going to start your day off right. But people rather have a donut and a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts and think that's okay and get this massive sugar spike in the morning.
My second tip would be have breakfast. Like some people skip it. And I was like,
yes.
nah, like don't.
Yeah. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
You're kickstarting your metabolism, you're kickstarting your body. So I totally agree with you. And, I tell people if you're not a breakfast person, let's start making small habits to get there. Like it can be a yogurt to start with. Like,
let me ask you, what do you have for breakfast? Like what's your
depends
regular?
on the
What's
day.
like your okay?
So I like eating eggs. So 2 or 3 eggs in the morning, and I'll have some toast. I'll do some Greek yogurt. And I won't do fat-free Greek yogurt. I'll do like that has like 5% fat, so like 9-10 grams of fat.
Sure.
I'll do that with some fruit. I get about 20 to 25 grams of protein, and then like my next meal at lunch will have like 35 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And I only eat about 120 grams at most of protein for the day, just because my goal weight is 125, so I don't need an abundance of that in a cut right now. But I like mixing and matching. So like you, where you have just food prepped and you just start mixing and matching.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. So I work from home, so I have the ability to like I can go cook something real quick if I need to.
Those are the best days. I swear.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a big on the just meats too. So I buy a bulk of them. That's I've been doing the past like month or so.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so like 4.5 ounces is about 30 to 35 grams of protein, depending on what you use. So I throw that on a salad, or I throw it on rice that I cook. It's too easy.
I like it.
So, yeah, and I like my protein snacks too. So I'm always looking for like protein brownies or protein donuts, or they make the pastries now. Like the Legendary has like the Pop-Tarts.
Legendary's got it down right now. I'm a sucker for their nacho chips. I'm trying to try that. Have you tried the chips yet?
No, I've only had the Quest chips.
Okay, so have you had a pork rind before?
I love pork rinds.
All right, so imagine that texture as like a nacho cheese chip. It's great.
That's gotta be so good.
I might have to go today and just like to try it, but like get to use it as a breading for chicken, right? So it's like protein on protein. I don't know, just a little.
Yeah, I've dabbled into
hack.
I've dabbled into like animal based at some point. So like it was like some fruits, lean, just meats in general, eggs, dairy. I can have all that. So I would make my own chicken tenders, and I would grind up pork rinds, put them in like buttermilk, bread them, and then put them in the oven, and they were so good.
Yeah.
Loaded with awesome.
See that? And that's the thing, right? Like people don't understand, I guess, maybe, or don't realize how sometimes making good food tastes good, right? Like there's that
Yeah.
misconception that like, oh, if I have to eat healthy, it's gonna be like a salad, it's gonna be like chicken and rice, and it's
Yeah.
not gonna it's gonna taste bland. But like that's how I like to cook. I love to cook with like the idea of like making it if I was in a restaurant, like how would I want it to be served, right? And so I just try and get the right ingredients, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. It's just
Yeah.
a little bit more footwork to kind of put it together, but it tastes great.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I have a little bit of a different approach. I think the Army has done this to me. Like, if food's in front of me, like, I'll eat it. It doesn't have to be flavorful. It's just substance at this point.
Yeah,
But I do agree with you. You can eat healthy and still have food taste good. And it doesn't have to be grilled chicken and broccoli or grilled chicken on a salad with, a couple of veggies, and you don't want to eat it for every single
yeah,
meal.
for sure, for sure.
There's the right approach to creating a variety in your foods and still staying on track. And I know you preach that, and I preach that too, that there's ways to do this. You just have to plan it out accordingly, make sure you're reading labels when you go shopping, and it's totally possible. It's not a magic pill. There's no magic science to it. It's just a little bit of effort and a little bit of reading.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
all right, last question I got. So, how do you stay motivated? So, what are things that you do to stay motivated and on track, especially on days where, you're a little sore, you're a little tired. I'm not really feeling the workout this morning because I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me. I don't want to roll out of bed. And the same thing with nutrition too. Like, I just want to power slam a pizza today. Like, that's how I'm feeling. What are some ways that you stay motivated both within your fitness and also nutrition?
I think not to circle it back to like what my trainer says about your strongness, but like I wake up, right?
Yeah.
And I think about the day I have, or I think about training, I think about maybe how tired I am, and it's like I'm almost like talking to myself in like can I curse on it?
What's that?
Can I curse?
Oh yeah, I don't care.
All right, so like I'm almost like real talking to myself like, yo, get the fuck up, like like just get
Yeah.
into it, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like Arnold's book of encyclopedia. It's like it's this one like verse that he wrote in there about like going cold, right, and like turning off your emotion. And sometimes I do that. I mean, I do that more often than not. And it's like it's just to get myself in the space that I need to be, because
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, like if you're not gonna push yourself there, no one else will. And
Yep.
that's it, right? Like for food, like that's an autopilot for me. That comes as like I need to get this, I need this food. I'm
Mhm.
gonna make it happen. Training is the same way, but like when you're in the morning, you're tired, you get to the gym, you're feeling the workout from before, you're exhausted. It gets a little difficult, but it's just like
Yep.
you gotta like talk to yourself.
You got to
And
be your
taking
hype
a high
man.
stem pre-workout sometimes helps because it just hits you, and you're just like you're like I gotta use this now. Like I can't go back. So. Yeah, just self motivation. It's definitely like something I'm like real high on.
Yeah.
Like
I wish I
not to
could
like be prideful, but just like to
Yeah.
talk yourself up, like you're the shit,
No,
but not the
absolutely.
ego.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you have to be your own hype man, because who else is going to be your hype man? Especially at
yeah,
2:15 in the morning when you wake up. Ain't no one else awake.
yeah.
And I wish I could take some high stim pre-workout, but the bad experience with pre-workout. So I'm not going to name the brand, but I took a scoop of pre-workout once, and I wanted to kill someone. Like, I had like tunnel vision like you wouldn't believe, and I was just filled with rage. And I'm like, this is not normal. And I'm like, I think it's the pre-workout. Then I tried a stim-free one, and that was a little bit better, but I'm like, I'll just
Same
stick with
brand?
coffee. It was the same brand, yeah.
Same brand. All right, you're gonna have to tell me this after the show.
Yeah, I will tell you. And then I just said, I'll just stick with coffee as a pre-workout. It has a little bit of caffeine. I enjoy my coffee. But yeah, I've also felt like on some pre-workouts, like my throat was closing. So I've had some weird reactions to it. So I'm like,
Yeah,
you know what? I'll just stick with some natural pre-workout.
yeah. Right now, the pre that's got me go. Well, it's not a specific brand, but like the one I take, on a certain day, like today for cardio, it has like henbane in it, and it's just like
Okay.
it hits so much different. I'm just like, man, like I feel it. I just like I'm sweating, but like the anxiety feelings kick in. I'm just like, all right,
Yeah.
we just gotta work through it.
Yeah. I mean, it has its purpose. So if that's what, and I'm sure a lot of other people, they rely on pre-workout to flip the switch and
Yeah.
get rolling. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you want to tell our listeners? Any last piece of advice?
Um, Hey, I mean, like if you're looking for like a coach, like I know you do coaching, but if you're looking for
Yep.
like another coach just to keep in your circle, like Ease the Kill is my Instagram page. The company name that I'm under is Grow with Ease.
Yep.
And I'm just really structuring that now to kind of become what it is, right? It's been a blessing to just see clients come in little by little, but me really trying to make it more of like the business and give it the nurturing that it needs before it's like I need a team and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like surround yourself around people who like want to see you win. Put yourself in environments that aren't going to make you, go back to old things or old habits, right? Like if you want to grow, you have to like change your habits up sometimes. So if you're in
Yep.
a situation where you're not, having the best diet, well, reevaluate that. But like, stick around positive people and know that like there's always a community out there who's thinking with the like-mindedness that you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do things that make you feel uncomfortable or in a
Yeah.
positive way.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
do things that can be detrimental that are uncomfortable. And for our listeners, I'll include in our show notes links to connect with Zeke. I'll post his Instagram, his link tree. So if you want to connect with him to get some nutritional coaching, you'll see that in our show notes and then also in the description on YouTube. Zeke, it was so nice to have this chat with you. This was great. A lot of good information, a lot of valuable information. Super appreciative you can carve out some time to come on the Fit Firm podcast. Hopefully in the future we may have some more episodes where we talk about other things going on, and I'd love to have you back once you compete to talk about your experience and
Yeah.
bring how you felt, what things went on during your prep. Because everyone's experience going through that is super different and super unique. So definitely looking forward to that in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, Taylor. Honestly, I'm like seeing you work this in. I've seen, like I said, you've seen my journey. I've seen yours.
Yep.
It's just really nice to be around familiar people who are
Yep.
also doing like-minded things. And I think that's why this works so well. When you reached out to me, I was like, yes, let's do this. Like right away, sign me up.
Yeah.
But I would love to be back on. Yeah, whenever.
Cool.
Just let me know.
Definitely in the future we'll set something up. But appreciate your time today, and
Yes.
to our listeners, we'll talk again soon. Take care.
All right. Take care.
Bye.